Hello students. Okay, today we'll see some more basics about the statistics. Here we'll see regression. Okay, first we can define this regression as it's concerned with estimating the values of dependent variables corresponding to a known value of independent variable is known as regression. Okay, here it is concerned with estimating the value. Okay, it's not eliminating, it is estimating the value of dependent variable corresponding to a known value of independent variables. See, that means how exactly you can call it as a regression. If you see here one example, here I have given the sales and the advertisement. See, suppose by giving 10 lakh advertisements, only 2 sales has been done, and by going for 15 lakh advertisements, only 2.5 sales, and for 20 lakh advertisement, if they have given, only 3.5 sales has been done, and for 22 lakhs advertisement, how much sales has been done? Okay, that is a regression. Okay, that means we are estimating the value of dependent variable corresponding to a known value of independent variable. Clear? See, that means here what we are estimating a dependent variable is known as a regression. Here suppose sometimes the sales, okay, here the sales become a dependent variable and advertisement become an independent variable. Okay, sometimes it will becomes a vice versa. Then you may ask how we have to find out a dependent variable or an independent variable. See here, the one concept you remember here, the one which is estimating is the dependent variable. That's it. Which one you want to estimate, that is a dependent variable, and the other one is an independent variable. And next, coming to the equation for this regression, mainly two equations are available for this regression. The first one is, it is y depends upon x, and next one is x depends upon y. Okay, that means in case of first one, that is y depends upon x. Okay, the equation is y is equals to a plus bx, and the second case is x depends upon y. Here x is equals to a plus by. Clear? So these are the general form of regression equations. Generally, these equations we are going to be expressing. Clear? See, I already told you estimating the value of dependent variable. Okay, that can be expressed in this general form of regression equation. Okay, for expressing this kind of general forms, we have to find out this point form. Clear? See, definitely for expressing this kind of regression, initially we have to find out these point forms. Okay, that is for y depends upon x, the point form will be y minus y bar is equals to byx into x minus x bar. Okay, in case of x depends upon y, that is x minus x bar is equals to bxy into y minus y bar. Here if you see byx and bxy, these two you will call it as regression coefficients. Clear? See, I already told you to express the general form, we have to find out initially the point form. Clear? See, for to find out this point form, here we know the regression coefficients. Clear? How we have to find out this regression coefficients? Again, by this formula, that is byx is equals to n summation xy minus summation x into summation y divided by n summation x square minus summation x whole square. Okay, next for bxy calculation, n summation xy minus summation x into summation y divided by n summation y square minus summation y whole square. Clear? See, another formulas will be there to find out this regression coefficient, that is byx is equals to r delta y by delta x. and byx is equals to r delta x by delta y. Okay, here we'll see one example how we can find out this regression equation. Okay, find y on x equation for the given data. Okay, in this data only they will give the values of x and y. Okay, based on these two variables. Okay, in this one is dependent variable and another one is the independent variable. Here find y on x means here y is an dependent variable and x is an independent variable here. Clear? Initially they will give only the two x and y data itself. Okay, here they ask to find out y on x. So for y on x, the equation will be y minus y bar is equals to byx into x minus x bar. Right? For that, initially we have to calculate byx. Okay, see this byx, that is n into summation xy minus summation x into y divided by n summation x square minus summation x whole square. So initially we have to calculate this summation xy. Clear? See that means we have to calculate all these xy values and we have to add it. You will get this summation xy values minus summation x. Okay, we have to add all these values and summation y, we have to add all these values. Okay, divided by n. Okay, n means that is number of observations here. See, that is totally it will be the 6. Okay, and summation x square, that means for this x you have to make the square and you add all the values minus summation x whole square, you will get 0.81. Okay, in the same way you have to calculate y bar and x bar. Okay, y bar is okay the total by number of observations, that is 9.3, and for x bar it is 34 by 6, that is 5.6. Okay, now we have to substitute all these values in this equation. So finally you will get the equation, that is regression equation, that is y is equals to 4.764 plus 0.81x. See, I already told you this regression can be expressed in this general form, right? See, this is regarding the regression. That is a simple linear regression. And next we'll see about the multiple regressions. Here it explains the relationship between the multiple independent and one dependent variable. Clear? In case of simple linear regression, if you see, there is one dependent and only one independent variable. But here in case of multiple regression, there is a relationship between the multiple independent and only one dependent variable. Clear? See, this multiple regression requires two or more independent variables, hence it is called as multiple regression. And if you see, this is an extension of the simple linear regression. And there are some considerations for these multiple regressions. Okay, you have to know. The first one is adding more independent variables to a multiple regression procedure does not mean the regression will be better. Clear? See, that means if we are explaining the relationship between one dependent and many independent variables, means it doesn't mean that the regression will be very better, but in fact it makes the things more worse. Okay, that is known as overfitting. See, that means we should not compare or the relationship between more independent and one dependent variables. Okay, if you are doing such things which may leads to the overfitting. And next one is in the addition of more independent variables, create more relationship among themselves. Clear? Here, this multiple regression, it has to explain the relationship between an independent and a dependent variable. But here, because of adding more independent variables, the relationship exists between the independent variables itself. Okay, see, that is known as multi-collinearity. Okay, and the ideal is for all the independent variables to be correlated with the dependent variables, but not with each other. And this multiple regression, okay, the equation, okay, that can be expressed as y is equals to, okay, beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus so on beta p xp plus e. Okay, this e indicates the error of regression. Okay, suppose if the error of this regression is 0, then the multiple regression equation can be represented as e is equals to beta 0 plus beta 1 r x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus so on beta p xp, and the estimated multiple regression equation is equals to b0 plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2 plus so on bp xp. Okay, here x1 x2 x3 are the different variables, and b1 b2 b3 are the coefficients, and b0 is the intercept. Okay, and next we'll see about the standard error of the regressions. Okay, what is meant by this standard error of regression here? All the observed values, clear, so that is y, x1 and x2. If you see, that is the dependent variables, and x1 and x2 are the independent variables, okay, that do not fall on the regression line, but they are scattered away from the regression line, is known as standard error of regression. Okay, later we'll see how we can, okay, calculate this standard error of regression. Here, the degree of scatter or the dispersion of the observed values, okay, about the regression line is measured by standard deviation of regression, or simply the standard deviation. Okay, it measures the variations of observations about a true regression line. Okay, here the true regression line will be y is equals to alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2, and generally which will be donated by, that is sigma y1 2. That means y is a dependent variable, and 1.12 indicates one is x1 and 2 is the x2. Those are the independent variables. Here, that sigma y.12, okay, this value is not known. See, therefore we have to estimate it from the sample data. Okay, so that the sample standard error of estimate is denoted by sy.12. Okay, the formula for this sample standard error of estimate is equals to square root of under root of summation y minus y bar whole square divided by n minus 2. Okay, we can, okay, shortcut this summation y minus y bar whole square in this way. See, in this graph, if you see, here there is a straight line that you will call it as a regression line, and here wherever the dots that are present on this regression line, that is the estimated values, and if you see the values that has been scattered away from this regression line, those are the actual values. Clear? See, but see, and the relationship between the actual and the estimated values, which gives the errors here. Clear? See, here also they will give the data of only x and y, sorry, x, y and y bar. Okay, they will give the x, they will give the actual values and they will give the estimated values. From this, you have to calculate the standard error of estimate. Okay, the standard error of estimates is under root summation y minus y bar whole square divided by n minus 2. Okay, see by these values, okay, we have to calculate this y minus y bar whole square and we have to substitute so that you will get the value as 0.89. Okay, it is a standard error of the estimate. See, that means there will be an error of 0.89% between the actual value and the estimated value. Next, we'll see about the different probability distributions. This probability distribution, you will also call it as theoretical frequency distribution. Okay, it can be defined as distribution of frequencies which is not based on the actual experiment or the observations but is constructed through expected frequencies obtained by mathematical computation based on certain hypotheses. Okay, that is known as probability distribution. Here there are different types of probability distributions. Okay, first one is binomial distribution, next one is Poisson distribution, and next one is the normal distribution. Among these three, the binomial distribution and the Poisson distribution comes under the discrete probability distribution and the normal distribution comes under the continuous probability distribution. Okay, first we'll see what are these three different types of distribution and later on we'll see with some examples. Okay, first we'll see what is meant by this binomial distribution. Okay, it is also known as Bernoulli's distribution. Okay, a binomial distribution can be thought of as simply the probability of a success or a failure. Okay, it may be a probability of either a success or a failure outcome in an experiment or survey that is repeated multiple times. Clear? Suppose if you see in an experiment, definitely there will be only either two probabilities, that is either it may be a success or it may be a failure. Okay, and if you see this binomial is a type of distribution that has two possible outcomes, okay, which is having only two possible outcomes. That means bi means two or twice. Suppose if you see a coin toss has only two possible outcomes. Clear? See, that is head or tails. Two possible outcomes for a coin toss, that is head or tails, and having a test, okay, could have only two possible outcomes, that is either pass or fail. Okay, so that is simply a binomial distribution. Clear? And next one is Poisson distribution. Okay, it's a tool that help to predict the probability of certain events from happening when you know how often the event has occurred. Clear? And if you see, this is a very rare cases you are going to be observed. It gives us the probability of a given number of events happening in a fixed interval of time. Okay, by seeing one example, you can understand what is meant by this Poisson distribution. See what I'm saying here, it helps to predict the probability of certain events from happening when you know how often the event has occurred. Clear? See, in this case, uh, the p is very small and the q is equals to 1 and the value of n is very large. Clear? And just you remember these things later while solving the problems, you can understand what is this p is very small or q is equals to 1 and value of n is very large. Okay, example is number of diners in a certain restaurant every day. If the average number of diners for 7 days is 500, now you can predict the probability of a certain day having more customers. Clear? See, that means here I told you certain events from happening when you know how often the event has occurred. In that case, you can predict the probability. Okay, that is known as Poisson distribution. Okay, next is the normal distribution or Gaussian distribution. Okay, it's a continuous symmetrical. Okay, if you see, it's very important. Continuous symmetrical probability distribution in which the frequency is distributed even about the mean of distribution. Clear? See, that means in this, it is a bell-shaped curve on both the sides towards the left and towards the right side. Here symmetrically, okay, the distribution in which the frequencies are distributed even about the mean of distribution. Clear? That means equally distributed on both the sides of this curve. Here there are some properties regarding this normal distribution, that is the mean, median and mode are all equal. Clear? And the curve is symmetric at the center, and next exactly half of the values are to be the left of the center and exactly half of the values are to be the right. Okay, the total area under curve is 1. Okay, first, okay, we'll see with some examples of these three different distributions. First, we'll see about the binomial distribution. Here, the properties includes the expected value is equals to mean is equals to NP. Okay, next variance is equals to sigma square, that is equals to NPQ. So standard deviation, that is square of standard deviation, you will call it as a variance. Okay, you remember that. Now standard deviation is equals to square root of NPQ. Okay, we'll see one example here. The probability that a pen manufactured by a company will be defective is 1 by 10. If 12 such pens are manufactured, find the probability that exactly 2 will be defective. Next, second one is none will be defective, at least 2 will be defective. Okay, with the help of this binomial distribution, how we are going to calculate the probability of these three things, we'll see. Okay, the binomial equation will be P capital X is equals to small x is equals to NCX P to the power of X Q to the power of N minus X. Okay, here they have given total number of pens, N is equals to 12, and the probability of a defective pen, that is P is equals to 1 by 10, that is equals to 0.1. Okay, previously we had seen the probability of a defective pens are 1 by 10 they have given. That means that is the probability of success. Okay, that is P, small p represents the probability of success, Q represents the probability of failure. Okay, the P is equals to 1 by 10, that is equals to 0.1. Okay, next they have not given the non-defective pens, but here from the defective pens we have to calculate the probability of a non-defective pen, that is Q is equals to 1 minus P. Okay, that is equals to 0.9. Since P plus Q is equals to 1, so from this equation P plus Q is equals to 1. So here Q is equals to 1 minus P. So here we got the Q value as 0.9. Okay, we'll calculate one by one probability that exactly 2 will be defective. Okay, that means 2 defective means that is X is equals to 2. That is probability X is equals to 2 is equals to NCX. Okay, N is 12, C X value is 2. And next P, probability of success is 0.1. Square root of x means square. Next Q value is 0.9. Square root of, sorry, okay, that is 12 minus 2 to the power of 12 minus 2, that is you will get 10. Okay, here 12C2 means that is 12 factorial divided by 2 factorial into 12 minus 2 factorial. Clear? See here 12 factorial means what? 12 into 11 into 10 into 9 into so on. You will call it as a 12 factorials. Right? And 2 factorials means simply 2 into 1, that is 2 factorial value is only 2. And next 12 minus 2 means that is 10 factorial. Here 10 factorial and 10 factorial will got cancelled. 2 into 6 is 12. So finally these values you can calculate with scientific calculator. So you will get the value as 0.2301. Okay, the probability that exactly 2 will be defective, the value will be 0.2301. And next one is probability that none will be defective. See, that means that is x equals to 0. Okay, here 12C0. Okay, we have to substitute those values in this equation. Here you remember NC0. Okay, some formulas you remember. NC0 is equals to 1, NC1 is equals to n, and NCn is equals to 1. Okay, here it is like NC0. Clear? See, that is 1 into this something to the power of 0 is 1. Okay, and next one is 0.9 to the power of 12. Okay, we'll get the value as 0.2824. And next one is probability that at least 2 will be defective. Okay, that at least means here there can be given by this formula, that is 1 minus P, that is probability x is equals to 0 plus probability x is equals to 1. Clear? See, that means here 1 minus, here we got already calculated the probability x is equals to 0, right? We got the value as 0.2824, and next we have to calculate this probability x is equals to 1. See, that means instead of this x is equals to 0, we have to substitute x is equals to 1 in this formula. Then we have to calculate here. So finally you will get the value as 0.3410. Clear? See, that's about the binomial distribution. And next one is Poisson distribution. Here the number of trials that n will be very large. See, that's why previously I told you that is n is very large. Clear? And the probability of success is very less. Clear? See, in case of Poisson distribution, the trials will be very large, but the probability of success is very less. Okay, here the Poisson distribution can be given with the help of this equation. Px is equals to x is equals to e to the power of minus m into m to the power of x divided by x factorial. Here mean is equals to m is equals to np is equals to constant or a finite value. Okay, you'll see one example here. A manufacturer produces medicines bottles. Find that 0.1% of the bottles are defective. See, the success is very less. That is 0.1% of the bottles are defective. The bottles are packed in boxes containing 500 bottles. A drug manufacturer buys 100 boxes from the producer of bottles using Poisson distribution. Find how many boxes will contain no defective, at least 2 defective, at most 2 defective. Okay, here they have given the e to the power of 0.5 directly, the value has given here. Okay, here the Poisson's distribution equation, probability x is equals to e to the power of minus m into m to the power of x by x factorial. Here what they have given, that is n is equals to 500 bottles they have given, and probability of defective bottles, that is p is equals to 0.1%. That means 0.1 divided by 100, that is 0.001. Okay, initially you have to calculate the m mean value, that is np. Okay, you know n value and you know the probability of success, you will get 0.5. Okay, that means m we got the value as 0.5. Okay, you substitute here in this equation e to the power of 0.5, m is 0.5 to the power of x divided by x factorial. Clear? See, already this e to the power of minus 0.5, they have given the value directly as 0.6065. Here we will find out one by one. First one is no defective bottles. Okay, probability that no defective bottles. No means no defective bottles means x is equals to 0. Okay, in that, in this formula you substitute x means 0 divided by 0 factorial. Okay, anything to the power of 0 is 1. 0 factorial is 1. So probability of no defective bottles is 0.6065. But here they asked how many boxes containing this 0 defective bottles. So that is number of boxes they have given 100 into the probability of no defective bottles is px is equals to 0. Okay, 100 into 0.6065, here you got the value as 61. See, that means out of 100, 61 boxes, okay, having 0 defective bottles. Okay, this is how the probability we are going to be finding out. The next one is probability that at least 2 defective. Okay, that means how many boxes, that is from the 100 boxes, how many boxes that at least 2 defective bottles will be present. Okay, that is probability x. Okay, that is more than or equal to 2. Okay, so that is equals to 1 minus probability x is equals to 0 plus probability x is equals to 1. Okay, at least means you remember this formula, 1 minus probability x is equals to 0 plus probability x is equals to 1. Okay, see here, after substituting you will get the value as 0.09025, and the number of boxes containing at least 2 defective means 100 into this probability x more or equal to 2. So you get the value as 9.025, that means equal to 9 boxes. Okay, that out of 100, only 9 boxes containing at least 2 defective bottles. And the third one is probability at most 2 defect. At most means not more than 2. Okay, here this can be represented by the equation, that is probability x is equals to 0 plus probability x is equals to 1 plus probability x is equals to 2. Okay, see, we have calculated x is equals to 0, probability x is equals to 0, probability x is equals to 1, and finally we have to calculate the probability x is equals to 2. Then you will get the value as 0.9855. Clear? See, the number of boxes at most 2 defective means 100 into this probability x less than equal to 2, almost 99. See, that means out of 100, almost 99 boxes contains at most, that means not more than 2 defective bottles. Okay, that's about the Poisson's distribution, and next we'll see about the normal distribution. Okay, which will be represented by the equation fx is equals to 1 by sigma root of 2 pi to e to the power of minus 1 by 2 into x minus mu divided by sigma whole square. Okay, here the sigma is standard deviation and the mu is equals to mean. Okay, see, generally this normal distribution that can be represented in the form of a curve, that is in the shape of a bell. See here the total area under curve will be 1. See, that means if you see this curve, the total area is 1, so that it will be equally distributed towards left and right side, that is 0.5 and 0.5. Clear? See here in the middle, that is x is equals to mu. Okay, from this graph, if you see, that is mu plus sigma towards the right and mu plus sigma towards the left. Okay, that distance, the percentage will be 68.34. Okay, always that percentage will be the same. Okay, next mu plus 2 sigma towards the right and mu plus, sorry, this is mu minus 2 sigma towards the left. Okay, see here the percentage will be 95.45. The next one is a sigma plus, sorry, mu plus 3 sigma, and here mu minus 3 sigma. Here the percentage will always be 99.73. Okay, and here we have to calculate the standard normal distribution, which will be represented as z. Okay, z is equals to x minus mu by sigma. Okay, if you substitute this z value in this equation, you will get as fz is equals to 1 by root 2 pi into e to the power of minus 1 by 2 into z square. Okay, we'll see one example here. If x is a normal distribution, variate with mean is equals to 30 and standard deviation is equals to 5, then find out, okay, this probability of, okay, that is 26 less than equal to x less than or equal to 40, and second one is probability of x more than or equal to 45. Here they have given mean is equals to mu is equals to 30 and sigma is equals to 5. You have to substitute these values in this. Z is equals to x minus mu by sigma. Okay, first we'll find out the first one. In that case, you put x is equals to 26. Okay, then z is equals to 26 minus 30 by 5. We'll get minus zero point 0.8. Okay, and here, see in this peak in the middle, z is equals to 0. Minus means that is the values towards the left. Clear? That means minus zero point 0.8. Okay, see that means area between z is equals to 0 to z is equals to minus zero point 0.8, you will get as 0.2881. See, that is that value you will get from the standard normal table. Okay, standard normal distribution table will be there. From that standard normal distribution table, you will get this area that between 0 to minus zero point 0.8. Okay, see, if you want, you check it, that is normal distribution table. See, that is from z is equal 0 to zero point 0.8, you will get the value as 0.2881. That means this area is 0.2881. And next you put x is equals to 40, next value in this z. Okay, you will get the 2. Okay, that means this value is, suppose if you think it is 2, and you see in that normal distribution table between 0 to 2, that value is 0.4772. Okay, this area will be 0.4772. Okay, and if you see here, we have to find out this probability. We have to substitute this minus zero point 0.8 in between z to the 2 value. Okay, see, we have to add these two areas, so you will get the value as 0.7563. Okay, the probability for this value will be 0.7563. And next one is probability x. Okay, that is more or equal to 45. Here put x is equals to 45 in this z equation, you will get 3. Okay, that means here plus means towards the right side. Here the area between 0 to 3 will be 0.4987. Okay, here they are asking the probability x, that is more or less than to 45. See, that is equals to p z more or equal to 3. Here the area of z more or equal to 3. That means total area on the right side, z is equals to 0 minus area between z0 to z3. Okay, here these two will be equally distributed. I already told you 0.5 and 0.5. Here the total area on the right, z is equals to 0. Okay, the total area is 0.5. In that you have to subtract this value. Okay, so you will get this value of probability, that is 0.0013. Okay, that's about the normal distribution. And next we'll see some other basic things, that is the population. Okay, what is meant by a population here is a set of items from which a sample is taken for some study is known as a population, or the population is a collection of objects. Clear? See, that means a population means which is a group of objects or a collection of objects, we'll call it as a population. Okay, and this term population need not relate to only the human population, but the population may also relate to the population of animals, population of trees, or population of books. Okay, for anything, a set of collection of objects we can denote as a population. Okay, the population size is denoted by capital N. Okay, and next one is the sample. A part or a portion of a population is called a sample. Clear? See, the entire objects is known as a population. In that, a part or a portion of population, you will call it as a sample. Okay, suppose if you see an example, a set of students in a college may be taken as a sample from the student population of entire university. Okay, here the sample it's denoted by small n. Okay, n should not be too small or it should not be too large. Okay, generally this sample is decided on the basis of the population, that is capital N. Okay, and next we'll see what is meant by a sample size. Here the number of items in a sample is called as sample size. Okay, it is also denoted by small n. Okay, we are having two different types of sample sizes, that is small samples and the large samples. Small samples means a samples with less than 30 items in a population is known as a small samples, that is n less than 30. Example is a t distribution. Simply a t distribution. We have learned already how we have to calculate the t distribution. See, that's an example for these small samples. And next one is the large samples. If you see a sample with more or equal to 30 items in it is called it as a large samples. That is, and will be more than 30. Okay, large sample test will be there, or you will also call it as a Z test. Okay, in this case, the samples will be more than 30. Okay, the equation for this large sample test or the Z test is Z is equals to x bar minus mu divided by sigma by square root of n. Okay, next we'll see about the hypothesis. That is, any assumption about the form of population distribution is known as a hypothesis. Okay, you all well aware of this hypothesis. If you are making any assumptions about a population distribution, that is known as a hypothesis, or any assumptions about a parameters is called as hypothesis. Okay, suppose if you see the average life of a TV picture tube is 10,000 hours, that means it's our assumption. Okay, simply about that picture tube. Okay, see, that's an assumption, you will call it as a hypothesis. Generally there are two types of hypothesis will be present, that is null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. We'll see. Okay, this null hypothesis that can be represented as h0. Here a variable statement, okay, entirely opposite statement. Okay, a variable statement about a parameters or about a form of population distribution at certain levels of significance. Okay, this is important term, that is at a certain level of significance is called as a null hypothesis. See, that means if you see an example, to test the difference between the sample mean, that is x bar, and the parameter mu. Okay, then hypothesis, null hypothesis is equals to x bar is equals to mu, or x bar minus mu is equals to 0. See, that means there is no significant difference between x bar and mu. And next one is, suppose to test the difference between two sample means. Clear? In this case, x1 bar and x2 bar are the two sample means. Here hypothesis we have to give like x1 bar is equals to x2 bar, or x1 bar minus x2 bar is equals to 0. Okay, that's about a null hypothesis. And next one is alternative hypothesis, that can be represented or denoted by h1. See, that means the hypothesis which is taken as an alternative to the null hypothesis and which is accepted whenever the null hypothesis is rejected. Okay, whenever the null hypothesis is rejected, then we have to go for this alternative, that is alternative hypothesis. Clear? It is denoted by H1, which is a counterpart of null hypothesis. That means if you see the example, if null hypothesis, hey, x bar is equals to mu or x bar minus mu is equals to 0, then alternative hypothesis h1 is equals to x bar is not equal to mu, or x bar minus mu is not equal to 0. And one more example, if you see, if the coins are unbiased according to null hypothesis and the coins are biased according to this alternative hypothesis, that means these two are entirely quite opposite in nature. Okay, next one is the sampling. If you see the method of taking samples from the population is known as the sampling simply. Okay, what is the method we are going to be using to collect the samples from this population is known as a sampling. There are different types of sampling like simple random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified sampling, and the cluster samplings. First, we'll see the simple random sampling. In this, every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected here. Okay, see, that means the sample size follows the binomial distribution. Clear? See, it's very simple. In this, if we are randomly collecting the sample from the population, but those population has equal chance of being selected. Okay, the sample size follows the binomial distribution. And next one is the systematic sampling. Here, mainly the researchers use the systematic sampling method to choose the sample members of a population at regular intervals. Okay, that means it requires the selection of a starting point for the sample and the sample size that can be repeated at regular intervals. Clear? See, that means they are going to be collecting the samples and they are going to be repeating at regular intervals. That means they are going to be going in a systematic manner. Okay, next one is stratified sampling. See, in this method, okay, the researcher divides the population into small groups that don't overlap but represents the entire population. Clear? See, that means here while sampling the groups can be organized and then drawn a sample from each group separately here. Clear? And there is a quite similarity between the stratified sampling and the cluster sampling. See, in the stratified sampling, here we are dividing the population into small groups. In the same way, in case of cluster sampling also, we are dividing the population into the small groups, but here you will call it as a clusters. Why? Because the clusters are identified based on the age or sex or location. See, that means based on these parameters, they are going to be making a clusters in a population. But in case of stratified, not based on these parameters, but randomly they are going to be dividing the population into small groups. But in case of cluster samplings, they are going to be, okay, dividing the population into clusters. Okay, that clusters are identified based on the age, sex, or the location. Next, we'll see the different types of errors. See, while testing the hypothesis, generally we will commit two types of errors. See, the first one is type 1 error, next one is the type 2 error. Okay, type 1 error is the chance of rejecting a true hypothesis is called as a type 1 error. Okay, the chance of rejecting a true hypothesis is called as type 1 error. It is denoted by alpha. Next one is type 2 error. The chance of accepting a wrong hypothesis is called it as a type 2 error, and it is denoted by beta. And if you see an example, so you can understand these two types of errors. If a doctor rejects to treat a patient with some disease, then doctor commits a type 1 error. See, that means patient is suffering with a disease and the doctor is going to be rejecting the treatment. Reject to treat that patient. Okay, so the doctor is committing a type 1 error. Suppose if the doctor gives a treatment to a healthy person who doesn't have any disease, okay, then the doctor commits a type 2 error. See here, the type 2 errors are more serious than the type 1 errors. Okay, next, finally, we'll see about the standard error of means. Okay, we'll also call it as SEM. Okay, this method used to evaluate the standard deviation of a sample distribution. It is also called as standard deviation of mean. Okay, it's simply represented as SEM. Okay, it represents an estimate of standard deviation which has to be calculated from the samples. Okay, here SEM is equals to standard deviation by root n. Okay, you'll see one example. Find the standard error of mean of given observations, that is x is equals to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, here number of observations n is equals to 5, and we have to calculate the mean value. Okay, you all know how to calculate the standard deviation also. So here the standard deviation will get the value as 15.811. Suppose if you know the value of standard deviation, immediately you can calculate the value of SEM is equals to standard deviation by root n. Okay, here the standard error mean will be 7.0711. Okay, that's all students.